Hey guys, welcome to WeebGarden. Today is my first video. Plus, I'm going to talk a little bit about an experiment that I'm going to be doing this year because California's weather has been cold, and it's been cold a lot longer than we expected. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm growing, and I'm going to go into what I'm going to be doing in response to all of the cold weather. So yeah, here we go. So it's March 6th, and these are my cucumber plants. I've got an Armenian cucumber, I've got some Sweet Success cucumbers, and some pick-a-bushel cucumbers there. I planted these about 4 weeks ago, and they've gotten real big. I mean, here's my hand, here are the leaves. Most of these look pretty healthy, but some of them are, they're kind of yellow around the edges. I think that's due to either too much water or just they're outgrowing their little containers. I've been trying to keep them inside as long as possible because it's been so cold in California. I thought that I could start early and plant early, but that might have been a mistake. I grew these indoors. They're gonna have to go outdoors, and it takes time for them to get acclimated to the outdoors. The wind, the sun, different temperatures rising and falling. And to do that, we put the plants outside for an hour, bring them back in. Next day, go out 2 hours, bring it back in. Next day, go 3 or 4 hours, bring them back in. Next day, maybe do a full work day, 8 hours. See how they do. Then we'll let them stay outside an entire day. And if they're doing well, I'm keeping up on watering and fertilizing, then they can be potted up. I live in a townhome, so it's all concrete outside. I cannot use the ground. I only have large containers that I can use. Since it's about, 50 degrees, I think we're gonna have highs of like 55 today. I'm going to basically put my seed trays that are over there. Hello. I'm gonna take these seed trays here. I'm gonna put them in bags. These are clear bags. And the theory is this will keep the temperature inside the bag about 10 or so degrees warmer than if they were just sitting outside. We're gonna give this a shot. I'll show you how I'm setting that up, and we'll go from there. All right, so these are my cukes, and they are in the bag. You can kind of see I just have the bag laid out here, but I'm gonna just set this down here right next to it, and I'm just gonna cover it up just like this. Leave it loose, but also seal this down. So this, in theory, there's a little hole here so heat can escape, but this should in theory keep it relatively about 10 degrees warmer than outside of the bag. And then after about an hour, we'll bring it back in. Oh, and also I should mention the other thing I'm going to be doing today, once I bring those in, I'm going to move them to these seed flats because they're pretty sturdy. The other ones, they're a few years old. A couple of them have holes in them. In fact, this one here, there's a hole there. Let's see that? Boop. Boop. Okay, so that's not good. So I'm gonna be slowly rotating these trays out and replacing them with these. They're real, I'm squeezing pretty hard on this corner and it's not bending or anything like that. So when I bring the cucumbers back inside, I'm gonna move them to these and put them back on my shelf and let them rest. All right, it's been about an hour. It's still about 50 degrees out, so it should in theory be 55 to 60 degrees in here. You can take a look at these, see how they're doing, but they look pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and bring these back into my room and we will get them in their new trays. We're gonna go ahead and do this every day, an hour more each day until we've hit about 10 to 12 hours. And then after that, they should be able to stay out here all day and do just fine. So, well, that's that. All right, let's get these brought in. I noticed that some of these have these little brown spots here. This can happen for a number of reasons. It could be that the seed itself was diseased, or it could be a watering issue. And my guess is that some of these are just a little overwatered. So to avoid stress on the plant, I'm just going to clip off any leaves that have these spots. I'm going to go through all of the plants and do that. They should do just fine that way. So like this one's really bad here. So is that one there. Same plant. You can kind of see this one's doing okay. So not all of the plants are affected. You'll notice this guy here kind of fell. That's okay. We can kind of prop him back up and make sure he's well supported. He's kind of bummed out, I guess. It's too cold. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So we'll start with this guy. I mean, look at all those roots. They're just kind of sitting in water. And so I think that's what the problem ultimately is these roots here just kind of sitting in that water. Getting them in newer dry trays and letting them kind of rest in that will probably be good. So just dropping it over. So all we're gonna do is we found the leaf here. See how there's a little guy growing there. Without touching that, we're just gonna clip, same here on this little guy. Focus. Clip it right off. And these ugly things will just go in the trash. Now, I want to get this guy kind of propped. I've got this zip tie here. Let's see. Will this work? Boom. Look at that. Neat. If your plant is a little shallow like this, don't worry too much. Just keep it propped up so it can get the light that it needs. And eventually, you know, the roots will start to kind of pop out here. You'll see bumps on the side of the cucumber, and that's totally fine. Just let it grow its roots and it will kind of support itself a little bit. When we plant these, we're gonna have large containers with stakes and trellises and stuff, and I'll do videos on how I do that in the future as well. But let's go ahead and do another one. And you can see I'm kind of experimenting with these a little bit. Okay, so like this is 2 plants here, 2 pick-a-bushels. This is another pick-a-bushel. So I'm kind of seeing a pattern where the pick-a-bushels are a little bit more susceptible to this problem than like the sweet successor, the Armenians. Just get in there like this. Just be careful not to damage the main stem, and you can kind of see, whoops, I accidentally cut off a new growing leaf. Don't worry about that. You can kind of see there's all kinds just growing in here. If you accidentally damage, cut off a piece that you didn't mean to, don't worry. The main vine is not affected. We'll get new leaves popping up and it'll be totally fine and well supported. So that's 4 plants there. I might need 3 of these trays. All right, so we'll go ahead and do the rest. I'm gonna stop the camera. I'm gonna do the rest, and then I'll show you where they're going to sit and rest for the rest of the day until we do the same process tomorrow, but 2 hours outside instead of just 1. Okay, so I've swapped out the seed flats here. One thing I did off the camera is I took that cardboard box that my plastic bags were in, and I cut off some pieces of the cardboard. And basically, I'm creating little dividers here. Now, it's not perfect by any means, but the goal is, you see how much these roots have developed. I really don't want these getting tangled up, because if they do, and try to pot them up, it's just going to cause stress on the plant. So I have these little cardboard strips just kind of cut out. We'll see how that works, but if need be, I have these little saucers like this. They're clear. They're about an inch and a half deep. You can kind of just place each plant in its own little pot, and you can kind of guarantee that the roots are not going to tangle up. But this is just a little easier to work with. I'm putting them outside. I don't have to do 1 or 2 plants at a time. I could take all the trays out like this. But yeah, that's kind of it. I hope that these continue to grow well, but I'm not too worried. This is actually way more than I can actually fit in my yard. And I'm doing this intentionally because if stuff like this happens and we have a diseased plant or something dies, I have things that I can plant in its place. So you can kind of also see here, the zip tie, this kind of fell again. So I took the zip tie and I just made like a little hoop. And so this is holding it up nicely. Oh, and while we're at it, since these are cucumbers, I'm going to be making some pickles with these. We'll go ahead and put Piccolo right there with the pickles. He looks happy about it. Okay, that's it for this one. We'll check back in the next day or so and see how these are doing. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe. I'll be giving a lot more tips on how to seed start, how to water, how to grow, all throughout the season. So stay tuned and catch you on the next one.